other headlines, Labour to participate in negotiation meeting for new minimum wage. Former President Jonathan steps in to mediate Wike Fubara dispute. Economic downturn heightens concerns for vulnerable citizens. Away from Nigeria, Iran's leader names Mohammed Makhbar as acting president ahead of election. Good evening and welcome to the news update at this hour on Trust Television. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for joining us, and now the news in full. The organized labor has agreed to attend the negotiation meeting of Tripartite Committee on the minimum wage slated for Tuesday. The Vice President of the Nigerian Union Congress, Atim Okon, gave the confirmation in an interview with journalists on Monday in Abuja. The Nigeria Labour Congress and the TUC had walked out on the negotiation meeting as the federal government proposed 48,000 naira as new minimum wage for workers in the country. Labour also accused the government of failing to provide any substantiated data to support their offer, adding that lack of transparency and good faith on the part of government undermines the credibility of the negotiation process. The Director General of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, Adewale Smart or Yerinde, said he hoped that the Tuesday meeting on the Tripartite Committee would be successful. Cybersecurity experts and some residents of the Federal Capital Territory have been reacting to the Central Bank of Nigeria retraction of its directive asking banks and payment service providers to collect and remit the cybersecurity levy as outlined in the Cybercrime Prevention and Prohibition Amendment Act of 2024. The Apex Bank announced this in a revised circular dated May 17, 2024, following public outcry against the policy which many said was ill-timed following the current economic crisis in the country.
Since the announcement of the directive asking banks and payment service providers to collect and remit the cybersecurity levy as outlined in the Cybercrime Prevention and Prohibition Amendment Act of 2024, criticisms trailed the directive, which was condemned by Labour and society groups across the country. This led to the retraction of the directive. A security expert, Abubakar Grima, who says the reversal of the policy has implications on financing cybersecurity, also speaks on what options are available for the government to provide cybersecurity solutions to against attacks.
First, if we look at it from a broader perspective, we do not want to put out a message or a wrong message to embolden the cyber threat actors. So for the financial aspect, the act was put for a good purpose. It provides funding to cater for cybersecurity, national cybersecurity efforts. So the retraction of the levy, it should be followed with a proper level or proper high level of information disseminated to the public. Because we do not want, like I mentioned before, threat actors seeing this as an avenue to even increase their efforts. The government can key into initiatives that would improve cybersecurity awareness. The information spread out as to the amount of money, the levy that's to be paid, actually brought about a lot of awareness because most people are now asking the right questions. What is cybersecurity? Why are we even paying for it? So the government should back this up with a well-structured effort to disseminate more information about cybersecurity.
Abdurrahman Abuhamisu, a policy analyst, also gave his insight on the impact of policy reversals in the country.
If there is anything that has killed Nigeria and will continue to kill Nigeria, is not lack of policies, and it is not lack of people that will implement those policies, but private interests that has always dealt our policy implementation process a fatal blow. Because no matter how good your policies are, at a point you're going to combine the policy statement with human beings, and resources to be able to achieve a result. And by the time you bring human being and resources together in Nigeria to achieve a result, be rest assured that the result will not be achieved.
Meanwhile, FCT residents have also been reacting to the CBN's circular suspending the implementation of the cybersecurity levy.
The levy should be out because looking at the country situation right now, things are not well moved and people are suffering. There is starvation everywhere. The economy situation is bad. So imagine a situation where a tax of cyber security or something is being imposed on the banks. And banks will definitely, because they don't have that fund on their own, rather the fund is from we, the masses who bank with them, definitely they would impose that tax also on us.
Even the board that come out with that idea, I didn't know what they are thinking because we are facing a lot of challenges in this country. You understand me? Instead of for government to give to the masses, it's now turned around that masses is giving to the government.
Experts believe that the cybersecurity levy is a positive step in the fight against cyber crimes, but was just introduced at the wrong time. No, Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Away from that, Justice Inyang Eko of the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed the request by alleged terrorist negotiator Mohammed Tukur Mamu seeking his transfer from the custody of the Department of the State Services to the Kuje Correctional Center. Delivering the ruling on Monday, Justice Eko held that the federal government had raised the issue of insensate jailbreaks in prisons as a major ground to oppose the request for transfer to Kuje. The judge subsequently ordered Mamu to remain in DSS custody throughout his trial for the criminal charges against him. Justice Eko, however, affirmed his earlier order that he should be allowed to access his physician for medical treatment with the supervision of the DSS. Mamu, through his lawyer, had on April 29 alleged that the order of the court made on December 19, 2023, that he be allowed access to his physician for medical treatment was not complied with by the DSS. Mamu was arrested at the Aminu Kano International Airport upon his arrival from Egypt on September 6, 2022, over his alleged relationship with the terrorists who attacked the Abuja-Kaduna train on March 28, 2022. Meanwhile, Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed the request by the detained leader of the Biafra Nation agitators, Nnamdi Kanu, for the restoration of his revoked bail and removal from the custody of the Department of State Services to a house arrest or prison custody. The judge said the same request had been brought before her by Kanu, dismissing it for want of merit. In a ruling of Kanu's request, Justice Nyako said Kanu had the bail earlier granted him and escaped out of the country. The judge also held that the shorties who stood for him in the earlier bail had applied to be discharged and had been discharged on the ground that they could not locate Kanu and did not know his whereabouts. Justice Nyako said the only option left for Kanu was to go to the Court of Appeal to exercise his right of appeal. The judge disagreed with Kanu's lead counsel that the Supreme Court held that the earlier bail granted him ought not to have been revoked, adding that she had perused the Supreme Court judgment copy and did not see the claim of the lawyer.
Act says I cannot be tried in Nigeria. That's the law of Nigeria. I can never be tried in any court of law in Nigeria. That's what the law says. Anybody standing in trial or coming to try me is a terrorist. That's what their law says. Not me. As simple as that. Section 2, subsection 3F of Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. That's what it says. Any court considered to try me is committed an act of terrorism. Yes. Very clear. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then come to try that very person. Is not done anywhere in the world. So you must be aware of that. So that is why there is all these ridiculous delays. That is what Supreme Court said. I did not jump bail. My home was invaded. They came to kill me and I survived. They came to Kenya to kidnap me, brought me back to this country and seeking to try me, which the law says cannot happen. You cannot violate a treaty that Nigeria entered into and then hope to stand on that illegality to conduct the trial. Is not done anywhere in the world.
And to the south-south part of the country, former President Goodluck Jonathan has called for a truce in Rivers State between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike, and asked both men to work together. Jonathan made the call on Monday during the flag-off of the Trans-Calabari Road in Obio Akpo local government area, describing the political tension in Rivers State as worrisome. Jonathan noted that outgoing and incoming governors must know that they work for the collective interests of the citizens of the state, adding that it is critical for them to sheath their swords. Governor Madu Maruf Interior of Adamawa State has performed the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of an 18.3-kilometer federal housing estate road network in Bajabure, Giray local government area. The governor emphasized his administration's commitment to an aggressive multi-sectoral development approach to address the state's infrastructural deficits. Gibson Soadigo reports.
An aerial view reveals the dilapidated state of the Bajabure Federal Housing Road Network, constructed over 3 decades ago. Once a robust infrastructure, it is now a shadow of its former self. This community, situated in the Gere local government area of Adamawa State, is home to thousands of middle-class and low-income earners. Their plea for improved road networks has finally been heard, and a transformative change is now underway.
It is my singular honor now to break the ground and formally flag off the construction of the Federal Housing Estate Road Network in Bajabure, Gire local government, to the glory of God and to the benefit of humanity.
Adamawa State Governor Ahmadu Murfentry has once again taken the decisive action by initiating the construction of 18.3 kilometers of roads in and around the housing estate. The governor stated that this urban renewal effort is part of their commitment to fulfilling the 8-point agenda. He emphasized that the provision of infrastructure has consistently been a priority throughout both its first and second terms due to its immense value to the people and its critical role in the growth and development of the state.
Today's groundbreaking ceremony is our own ingenious way of providing the right solution to the problem of the inhabitants of the Federal Housing Estate in Bajabure. With this, I want to assure you that on the same day today, next year, we will be here to commission this project to the glory of God.
The Commissioner of Works and Energy Development, Adamu Atiku, highlighted the futures expected of the road networks in Bajabure Federal Housing, Yola, once completed.
The scope of work for this project is extensive and meticulously planned. The main roads, which of course is the artery main road, will stretch up to 3.5 kilometers with a 10.3 meters wide carriageway. This design will facilitate smooth and efficient transportation within the state, significantly enhancing connectivity and accessibility.
Vincent Adendu spoke on behalf of the community, expressing appreciation to the Adamawa State government for its efforts to transform Bajabure Federal Housing after decades of hardship due to poor road networks.
We have had about 5 governments since then, but none remembered us except your good, Your Excellency. This is a confirmation of the fact that you are the people's governor.
The road network construction has a time frame of 12 months. Gibson Soadigo, Trust TV News, Yola.
We move over now into the southeast part of the country and now to a sad development. 2 persons have been killed in an attack at Ikache village in the Akbarata area of Effium in Ohaku local government area of Ebonyi State. 7 others were abducted in the incident. The spokesman of the Ebonyi State Police Command, Joshua Ukandu, on Monday said the attack, which took place on Sunday, led to the destruction of properties worth millions of naira. Police authorities in the state have also launched an investigation into the matter, the spokesman said, assuring that officers and men of the command are committed to protecting lives and properties. As our FEM and FEM communities have been in a conflict since January 2021. And on to the Federal Capital Territory, Banex Plaza, an electronics and telecommunications gadget market in Abuja, is still under lock and key. Reports say many soldiers are found across the plaza. Some traders who assembled at a distance from the plaza were seen leaving after waiting 4 hours. Trouble started when thugs beat up some soldiers who had a minor disagreement with a trader in the plaza. The trader had reportedly sold a bad phone to someone who invited soldiers. Rather than resolve the issue amicably, the trader reportedly invited thugs who assaulted the uniformed men. They descended on at least 2 soldiers and another man in mufti. The thugs who broke into groups slapped, kicked, and beat up the soldiers. The army is yet to make statement over the incident. This is a news update on Trust Television. Still ahead. We'll take a look at how economic downturn heightens concerns for vulnerable citizens. We'll bring you more news when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. Let's take a look at our top stories again. Labour to participate in negotiation meeting for new minimum wage. Former President Jonathan steps in to mediate Wike-Fubara dispute. And on to more stories. The House of Representatives on Monday grilled the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission for its inability to protect the right of Nigerians over the recent hike in price of cement. The Joint Committee on Solid Minerals, Industry, Commerce and Special Duties expressed their displeasure when the agency appeared before it during a public hearing of the committees to investigate the arbitrary increase in the price of cement by manufacturers of cement in Nigeria. Chairman of the committee, Jonathan Gaza, while describing as a mother that has forgotten her child, said the increase in the price of cement has a direct bearing with the increase of building collapses experienced in the country. Earlier, the Director of Surveillance and Investigations, FCCPC, Boladale Adeyinka, and the Chairman of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, Sadiq Abubakar, said the increase in price of cement is not as a result of dollar increase, but on epileptic power supply, high cost of diesel, and operational costs.
That has to do with livelihood should be treated as an emergency. And your voices for the fact that you are in charge of protecting the consumers should be the loudest. Even above that of the, because your agency is actually an agency that is likened to one that gives early warning signals.
We're also investigating why there is entry barrier into the cement industry in Nigeria. When I mean entry barriers, the dominant players have remained so for a long time. Our analysis is not even a question of price fixing. Price fixing usually or cartel is more when they are talking together amongst themselves, which is an anti-competitive conduct under the FCCPA now. But what we are even noticing and we are investigating more is even a price war. In other words, they are not even talking amongst themselves, but they are, it seems to us that there are practices that need further investigations, which we consider part of the reasons why the consumer is feeling the brunt.
Cement importation is prohibited. So it's raw materials that the manufacturers import and produce in Nigeria. There are no importation of bulk cement. No.
Vulnerable citizens in Nigeria has remained a serious source of concern as the poverty index worsens in the country. Due to the present economic crisis, civil society groups in the country are therefore calling on the governments at all levels to ensure proper implementation of social protection programs that will reduce poverty across the country. Hamidu Igbari files in this report.
The World Poverty Clock, a tool used to track poverty progress worldwide, in its 2023 data reported that there are 71 million extremely poor Nigerians. The situation worsened after the implementation of fuel subsidy removal by President Bola Tinubu last year. This has prompted citizens to demand a holistic and comprehensive implementation of government social protection programs.
Nigeria hosts the largest number of poor people in the world. The level of poverty is high. The level of inequality is high. The human development indices are very low.
So the first thing for government to do is to look at the social protection laws and policies that we have in the country and ensure that they are properly implemented while engaging citizens. To do a proper implementation that would yield results for us, you need to engage citizens. One of the ways you can do that is to look at the existing public register that we have.
There are a lot of things the government can do, but for the purposes of this conversation, I'd like to think that giving the citizens a lift through social initiatives that empower the most vulnerable amongst us is the way to go. Governments all over the world have done this in countries, even developing countries like Nigeria, and Nigeria shouldn't be an exception.
They charged the federal government to tackle poverty head-on in order to make life bearable for all Nigerians. Amid Ojegbade, reporting for Trust TV.
On the foreign scene, Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei on Monday appointed the country's first Vice President Mohammad Mokber as interim president following the death of President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash. Raisi was on Sunday killed in the crash along with the country's Foreign Minister Amir Abdullahi and some other senior Iranian officials in the northwestern province of East Azerbaijan. Khamenei made the appointment known in a condolence message on the death of Raisi and the others. The leader described Raisi as a popular, capable, hard-working and indefatigable president, expressing sadness at the bitter news of his death. Khamenei said that according to Article 131 of Iran's constitution, the first vice president would be appointed at the helm of the executive arm. He said that the first vice president was duty-bound to, in cooperation with the parliament speaker and the judiciary chief, make arrangements for the election of a new president within 50 days. And finally in sports, pre-tournament favorites Bayelsa Queens, Rivers Angels and Nasarawa Amazons are eager to secure their first victories as the Nigeria Women Football League Super 6 enters Day 2 in Yenagoa. Despite a promising start by Edo Queens with a resounding 5-1 win over Confluence Queens, other matches on Match Day 1 ended in draws. Now, teams like Rivers Angels, Bayelsa Queens, Nasarawa Amazons, Heartland Queens and Confluence Queens are aiming to bounce back with victories in their March Day 2 fixtures. Today's games include Bayelsa Queens versus Nasarawa Amazons, Edo Queens against Rivers Angels and Heartland Queens versus Confluence Queens. With the competition ongoing from May 18 to May 26, the teams are set for intense battles to secure their positions on the table. And that concludes the news update on Trust Television at this hour. Do not forget you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream for my news, programs and documentary. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for your time.